Hello again, it's Josephine and I'm here on my Talk to Joe page. Thank you for tuning in and watching my video. So today I wanted to talk about feeling not good enough. This is something that I'm going to continue to return to. Whenever I talk about feeling not good enough, the live streams get watched a lot. It feels like it's something that so many people need to think about and need to hear. So I make no apologies for coming back to this today. So I've been away on holiday, and one of the really great things about being on holiday is obviously it gives you time to read. And one of the things I was reading was a really great article written by someone who's an artist who does quite a lot of stuff online and goes on to Instagram and photographs her stuff and shares that with other artists and looks at other artists' work. And she was talking about how bad that can make her feel. The fact that sometimes when she's doing a piece of artwork, it's really difficult. And then she'll look at Instagram and she'll see somebody else's brilliant piece of work and she'll just feel really dejected by that and that she's not good enough. And the thing that I thought was really interesting about what she said is she said, the thing is when I look at it, I was already feeling bad about my work before I looked on Instagram. I was already thinking that I wasn't good enough. And I go onto Instagram and I look at another piece of artwork and it confirms to me what I was already thinking. And I just thought that was a really interesting insight, because so often we can say go onto Facebook and look at somebody else's life and think, oh, look at them, aren't they having a wonderful life? And I feel dreadful because my life is so dull or boring or whatever it is we're thinking about our lives. But the point that that particular blog made was we're usually thinking that before we see something on Facebook or Instagram. And it's when we've seen it on Facebook or Instagram that we're looking for confirmation of what we already think, which is that we're not good enough. And of course, we only see very edited sections of people's lives, of people's work on Facebook and Instagram. And the artist made the point that, of course, she sees all her failures. When she's working in her studio, she's seeing all the things that she's struggling to achieve. But when you see a finished piece of work on Instagram, it doesn't show you all the work that's gone on to make that piece of art so good by the time it's photographed on Instagram. And that's so easy to do, isn't it? We can look at other people and we compare the finished product to something that perhaps we're struggling with ourselves. And so we confirm to ourselves that we're not good enough. But what I really want to share today is the fact that the idea that we're not good enough, in actual fact, is just an illusion, because it's just a thought. It's a thought that we have about ourselves, and who knows where it starts. It might start when we're children, when our parents are trying to encourage us to do better. It might start with a comparison of ourselves with other people. But we live with this thought that we're not good enough, and we look for ways to prove to ourselves that we're not good enough. We look at, have you ever noticed, it's particularly true of women, how you always pick on the one part of your body that you don't like, that goes to show that you're not slim enough, you're not good enough. And of course, there's lots of other parts of your body that are beautiful. And we look at the one thing and we pick that out and we use that to confirm to ourselves that we're not good enough. And in actual fact, we are good enough. It's not about the way we look. It's not about the things that we do. It's the very fact that we're here. We weren't asked to be born into the world, but by virtue of existing, we are good enough. We don't need to prove ourselves in any way. But the problem is that because we believe that we're not good enough, we look for external validation. We look for people to tell us that we're good enough. And this is so often what goes wrong in relationships. We're seeking other people to help us to feel good about ourselves. And when we do that, nobody can ever make us feel good enough inside, because we're always, we've got this chatterbox going on in our head. And even if people tell us that perhaps, yes, they do love us, we think to ourselves, well, they're saying that, but they're only saying that because they're trying to make me feel better. They're only saying that because they need something from me. They're only saying that because they're nice themselves. If they really knew the true me, they wouldn't say that about me. And we're just constantly resisting the input and the positive feedback that people want to give us, because deep down we don't believe that we deserve it. And if we don't believe that we deserve it, if we're living under this illusion that we're not good enough, we're not going to be able to hear what people are, the really positive and true feedback that people are trying to give us. And I often find when I'm working with my clients in my counselling practice that they'll say that whenever anybody gives them positive feedback, it just bounces off. One of my very early clients, when I was first training, she said to me, she said, it's sort of like I'm in a glass jar and all the positive stuff, it's on the other side of the glass. It just bounces off. It doesn't come in. It doesn't actually feel real to me. And that's because she was believing in that illusion that she wasn't good enough. And when I say about being good enough, it's not necessarily about, you know, for example, I'm not good enough at chess to be able to compete with a grandmaster. Of course I'm not. But it's actually, I'm not saying I'm good enough because of my skills. I'm saying I'm good enough because I'm a human being. Of course I've got my faults. Of course there's skills that I need to develop. Of course there's ways in which I fail. Of course, those things just are part of being human. But that doesn't actually have to affect the way I view myself. I am worthy. I am good enough just by being me. There's things in my life that I would love to improve and which I'm working on. But it's also things in my life where I recognise that those are things that I'm good at because those are my skills. And we're a whole mixture of different things, but we don't use those things to judge ourselves. We don't use those things to say, yes, I'm good enough, or no, I'm not good enough. We don't need to. It's just a thought, and we can let go of that thought. And one of the problems that I think happen is we can be constantly trying to prove ourselves, and it sets up such a negative cycle. It sets up a negative cycle in ourselves and in our relationships. And if we can just step off that, if we can just let go of that need, if we can just accept that we are okay, that makes such an enormous difference. I'm just reaching the end of the time that I think people are going to be watching the video for. So what I want to do is just finish with what Carl Rogers said, who created person-centered counselling. And I always struggle with the quote, so I'll see if I can remember it. He says, the curious paradox is until I accept myself, I can't change. But once I accept myself, then I begin to change very quickly. And that is such an interesting thought, because what happens, and this is what I see with my clients all the time, is that when we get to the place where we think, you know what, I'm going to stop trying to change, I'm just okay as I am. When people begin to feel okay as they are, lots and lots of things change. And I was saying to a client yesterday who's going through this process at the moment, it's like those domino runs that you see. You know, one domino falls, which is the self-acceptance, and then all the other dominoes fall as well. And gradually people become so much more empowered. So if you'd like to find out more about this, if you'd like to talk to me some more, then please do feel free to contact me via Facebook. I offer counselling face-to-face, and I can also offer coaching online as well. So if that's something that would interest you, then please do feel free to message me via Facebook or telephone me, and we can have a chat about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again another time. Bye.